Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. This will be my review of episode 16 of season 6 of Fear the Walking Dead. Spoiler alert if you're not caught up. Season 6 has been an awesome season. Compared to season 4 and 5, it's like a totally different show in my opinion. It's like, what happened? I'll be honest, and I've never really liked the new showrunners. They must have brought in some new writers for season 6. Everybody's different. I've just not liked the ideas that the showrunners have for season 4 and 5 and the direction it was going. Season 6, though, has been really great. They pulled off some big stuff, especially in the end with the sub. The finale was a good episode. It left us hanging a little bit, but, that's what these kind of shows do. I thought the opening titles was pretty cool. It had Teddy in it this time, and you could see the missile warheads coming down behind, and when one hit the ground, it all went white. But let's move on into the show. The opening scene, Rachel and the baby. This is Isaac's wife, the one that led Morgan to the dam and showed him the place that they could build a community and be safe. So I don't know who the writers were that wrote this piece, but I do think it was genius. What Rachel did to save the baby, genius. But totally sad. One of the saddest moments in the Walking Dead universe, in my opinion. There's a lot of sad moments. Tons of sad moments. Especially in the main show, The Walking Dead. But this one is, to me, one of the most saddest scenes. But as far as Rachel changing the truck tire and it falling on her leg like that was pretty stupid. And poorly written a little bit to get to the point of where she sacrificed herself and saved the baby by tying a rope to the dog and all that stuff. That part was genius. The tire falling on the leg, not so genius by Rachel or the writers, but this whole little piece could be a little film in itself as a how not to use a jack and change a tire. Yeah, the tire was stuck and she couldn't get it off. That happens a whole bunch and they're hard to get off sometimes. But you never stick your leg up in under there. You never get up in under a vehicle that's jacked up like that, unless you add some more safety to it. But the sadness is that she broke her leg. She couldn't continue. She couldn't get back to the sub or to any safe area. Her best bet, tie a rope to the dog, kill herself, turn into a walker, and let the dog guide her to some people that can save the baby. Very sad. So the rest of the review, I will take each group of characters all the way through their little story instead of bouncing around like it did in the episode. So let's go to Dwight and Sherry. Everybody seemed to split up, maybe looking for a place or to... they just thought it was the end, and they're like, we're just going to go off and die on our own over here or over there. I'm not really sure what happened. It didn't show outside of the sub of everybody going, okay, let's go look for a place, split up, and maybe look for a safe place, or any of that stuff. We didn't understand why Rachel was out there by herself with a baby. But as far as Dwight and Sherry, they were on horseback. It looked like they were out in the middle of nowhere. Luckily, they find a house, and luckily, the house had some beer, and luckily, the house had a storm shelter. Unfortunately, some of Teddy's goons had already came and pushed the other people away and said, we're taking this. So Dwight and Sherry, of course, do their thing heroically, and they take the shelter back. I'm not an expert on nuclear blast and things like that, but it really seems like that door to that shelter, it was barely protecting them. But as far as we know, Dwight and Sherry lived through at least the initial blast. Sherry was one of the top ones on my list to die this season, and I was wrong. So then we go to a group with Daniel, Luciana, Charlie, Rabbi, and some others. Rolly and Wes come up with Riley. They captured him after leaving the sub. Of course, Teddy ran off with Dakota. We'll get to him in a moment. But Raleigh says he knows where the bunker is, that they're keeping Alicia, and they should head there. Of course, Daniel heard Al over the radio give some coordinates to meet somewhere, and Daniel surely is losing his mind. That should be for real, because he said, I didn't recognize the voice. I've heard it before, sounded familiar, but I didn't recognize it. He should know Al. So they decide to go for the bunker, but of course, the air brakes go out on the vehicle. It's all a ploy. Raleigh was one of them. Daniel shoots him in the head. Charlie shoots Riley as he tries to get out of the truck. Riley confirms that Raleigh was one of them after a certain point. So they had fixed the brakes. They had headed to the coordinates instead. They did meet the chopper, and that was pretty convenient that the character Isabel was supposed to be the pilot, but they didn't show her face, so they didn't have to bring in the actress. So they just pretended this is Isabel. She's got a helmet on, but that's supposed to be who it is. And Al's on the radio telling them what to do. Al didn't come with her. They were low on fuel, didn't know how many people they would be picking up. And good thing it wasn't, because they wouldn't have fit. But the CRM helicopter did come and rescue them. So a lot of people think they're taking them to CRM. I don't think so. I think Isabel will take the helicopter back to wherever Al is, drop the people off. You never saw me. You don't know what's going on. Don't speak of this. I trust you guys. This is way beyond protocol. But I don't think they're going to CR or CRM. Al's relationship with the pilot allowed them to be saved, but I don't think they're captured per se. Teddy and Dakota, they're driving in the truck, talking, and everything's cool. Dakota's definitely, as far as the way they wrote her, she's messed up. But they get to a lookout point, which is really on top of some type of tower, bunker, something that has a manhole that they can go down in. Teddy was really going to not die, as John Sr. showed us. June and John show up, and it's a showdown. Dakota has her gun pointed. John and June finally shoot it out of her hand, and they go down for safety. So we know John Sr. and June should have survived the initial blast. Dakota, though, turns the gun on Teddy. He's like, yeah, you're not everything you say you are, and you've been lying to me. So she blows him away. You're not going to see your ending. But Dakota sure did for a second, for a half a second, for like a millisecond, because she got turned to ash. That was pretty cool. So Teddy and Dakota bit the dust. John Sr. and June, of course, survived. So then we'll go to Strand. Strand riding a horse in the city. You'd think he could have found a basement of some kind. I don't really know what his plan was to go into that building. Fate, it seemed, because of the guy he found. You'd think he'd go in a parking garage somewhere underground to try to survive the blast. But he seemed to accept his fate. He goes up and he finds this dude that's just been hanging out since the apocalypse started. Where he gets his supplies, how he's lived this long. I don't know, but he's collected a bunch of art and stuff. And he's got some good bourbon. Man, that guy is right up Strand's alley. It's funny how Strand said he was Morgan, but then after the blast, he said, no, I'm the other guy. Ha ha, I lived. We didn't die. And the guy that he found is actually, you couldn't have found a more perfect person for Strand to find and kind of put under his thumb. It looks like next season, Strand may be the villain, and I hope Alicia puts a bullet in his brain. That's just me. As far as Alicia goes, we saw the bunker kind of shake and rattle in one of the explosions, but everyone should be okay. Of course, Alicia survived. She's in there somewhere. We did not see her, though, in this episode. So finally, we get Morgan. Morgan stayed on the sub, and so did Grace. Grace is there. She finally goes and finds Morgan, and they talk a little bit and kind of decide on a suicide pact. They're going to take a bullet and just end it. And it's pretty cool the way they just did the one bullet kind of thing shot. But then Grace said, I can really hear a baby crying. And Morgan said, I can too. It must be real. So sound, however that traveled them so deep into the sub, and they could hear a baby crying outside of the sub. Whatever, zombie fantasy TV show, y'all. But they go out and they find Rachel. Sad moment, of course. But then they take the baby. Now Morgan and Grace have a baby, but then an explosion happens. So they jump in between some wheels of the big truck out there. And would that really save them? I don't know. What about the radiation? There's a lot of questions, lots of questions about all of this. But they survive that, though. And as they're standing there just staring at each other, several blasts are happening in the background. So that's where it ends. And I expect a time jump coming into season 7. It seems our groups are split up. Kind of, again, they just kind of sort of got back together after the Virginia thing, and now they're split up again. So what will happen? How will it turn out? Time jump? I don't know. Season 7, though, already in production, should come out this fall. But very cool episode, a lot of stuff happening, and it's exciting. And I'm excited for season 7 coming up. You guys let me know what you think about it all down in the comments below, and I'll join you there. This is James in Nashville. As always, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more dead stuff.